So 8 years ago, when I was going to school for biblical studies, we had an assignment, and that assignment was discussing what was the sin that Sodom and Gomorrah did. So the story of Sodom and Gomorrah really starts in chapter 18 of Genesis. What is this? This is realistically verse 20. When God starts talking about that he's going to destroy it. Then it's like a really weird interaction between Abraham and God saying, hey, if there's 100 people in there, would you really destroy the city if there's 100 righteous people inside the city? And he's like, nah, if there's 100, then no, it's fine. Then he's like, what about 50? And then he's like, what about 45? And then he talks God all the way down to like 10 people. If there's 10 people inside of Sodom and Gomorrah that are righteous, will you destroy the whole city? And he's like, no, I won't do it, bro. And so that's where we start out with Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, hey, there's righteous people, then we're not going to do it. Then it jumps straight into Lot is somehow sitting at the gate of Sodom, right? And two angels appear, and they're like, hey, bro, what's up? And he's like, oh my God. And he gets down on the ground, and he bows, and he's like, yo, I love you. Please come into my house. Let's get off these streets. Knowing that there's a bunch of sinners, dangerous people out there on the streets. The angels are like, nah, we want to spend the night in the city square, not Times Square, city square. And he's like, no, dude, like, you need to come into my house. Like, come into my house, angels. Like, come on in. And they're like, fine, we'll come into your house, right? So he brings them into the house. They go ahead, close the door. They go over and, start sitting down, have a good time. They're having a conversation. And then good old Lot hears a good old knock, knock, knock on the door. And he's like, who's there? No, so he goes to the door, and there's the town people. All the men of the town, of the city. Not all the men, obviously, but like a bunch of men are there. And they're like, hey, bring out your visitors. We want to know them. And that's the biblical type of knowledge. That means the fuck. And Lot's like, no, you're not fucking these angels. Get the fuck out of here. And they're like, no, we want these angels. And he's like, how about you take my 2 virgin daughters? Rape the fuck out of my 2 daughters, not these guests. And they're like, nah, bitch, we want those angels. And they're like, nah, bitch, I am not letting you fuck my angels. And so the angels pull Lot back into the house. Then the angels are like, yo, we need to get you out of here, bro. This is not a cool situation. Like, we need to get the fuck out of Dodge. So get your brother-in-laws, get all your family members, get them all up. We're leaving. So Lot goes ahead and he gets and talks to his people. And they're like, haha, you're fucking with us. The city's not going to be destroyed. God's not going to destroy the city. Like, what? And he's like, nah, I ain't joking. God's going to destroy it. And they're like, fuck off, bitch. Go to sleep. In the morning, the angels are like, hey, we're going. Get your daughters, get your wife, we're headed out. And they're like, no, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave, angels. I know you're an angel from God, but I don't want to leave. So the angels grab them, and they're like, no, we're leaving, bitch. We're not destroying the city until you're gone, and we're taking you out of here because you're righteous, and you're friendly, and you're hospitable. And they grab him, and they bring him out of the city, and they start walking away. And they're like, do not turn the fuck around. We're leaving. Don't look back. We're headed out. And then Lot's wife is like, nah, I want to turn around, and I want to see the beautiful city that I used to live in with all my sinners and all those people that are rude and rapists. She turns around, and then God's like, nah, bitch, you're a pillar of salt now. So Lot loses his wife. Those kids lose their mother because she turned around. I find that ridiculous. So they end up getting him to Zor, and then boom, fucking sulfur and fire and everything comes down and just basically nukes the shit out of Sodom and Gomorrah. Then after Sodom and Gomorrah gets nuked, basically, Lot's scared, so he doesn't want to stay in the city of Zor, and so he stays in a cave outside of the city. And that's kind of where Sodom and Gomorrah story ends. But continuing that, he stays in the cave, and then he falls asleep. And the 2 daughters are like, yo, we haven't got fucked yet. We are not pregnant. We need to get our dad drunk. Like, what the fuck is that about? So they just rape their dad. It's fucked up. Anyways, going back to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? I like to argue that the principal sin of Sodom and Gomorrah is the lack of hospitality and the lack of righteous people inside of the city. It has nothing to do with the men trying to rape the angels. Like, it's not about gay. It's about, hey, how you doing today? My name's Mike, and I like, to help my friends out, and you look like you need some help. So let's go give you some help. It's not about, hey, let's destroy the city because there's gay people inside. So I'd argue that whole entire point. Not about sodomy, right? Not about anal sex. Not about fucking gay sex. Not about the LGBT community. It's about fucked up people being fucked up, and that God's like, there's nobody there that's worth saving except for Lot and Lot's family. And half of his family got destroyed, and his wife got turned into a pillar of salt. Which reminds me, I believe she got turned into a pillar of salt because this is a story about not going back into our sinful lives. That's what it's truly about, right? It's about we need to destroy our last sinful behavior, whatever it is, and move on and move forward. And so if you have friends that put you down a bad path, or if you have a community, or you have little tiny habits that cause this addiction of whatever you're dealing with, you need to not look at it. You need to put it in your past and move forward and never touch it again, is basically the principle of this story. Because if you touch it again, then you'll be fucked up, so fucked up you'll turn into a pillar of salt. Now, were these cities historical? I have no clue. I just watched a documentary from History Channel that was like, hey, let's go find Sodom and Gomorrah, and I don't know. It could be real. It fucking could be real. Some people were saying maybe it's in the Dead Sea. That's why it was salt that she turned into. I don't really know. It could just be a huge translation error after fucking thousands of years of this story being passed down. But yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed because they were fucked up people, not because they were part of the LGBT community. Yeah. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on this spiritual Sunday. And join back next week for another video. And we'll have videos every day this week with different categories, It's good times. Yesterday was about, was the Titanic sunk on purpose? Was it?